How are you this evening, everyone? So, what I'm doing is giving you a little wrap up. I didn't do a wrap up yesterday. I think I worked too long during the day. I was still working on the feature film, short film I'm editing. Um, this is a different one than the earlier one we talked about if you haven't seen me in a while. So, what I did today was I made some big progress. I didn't realize how close to the end I was. The last few scenes of the film, the short film, were really compressed and simple to edit. So I pushed on ahead and I was able to complete that short film that I've been working on for one of my clients in New Jersey. And I made some contact with him and he was happy to hear that. So what I did next, when you're working on something for a client, you find out what they want for the credits, the opening credits, the ending credits. This one also had some foreign language and I had to subtitle it, so that was interesting. I haven't done that in a while, but I've definitely done subtitling. I've even about a year ago, I think I mentioned in some of my earlier videos that I had been trying my hand at Film Hub. And I have a number of feature films that I shot years ago. And those films, the rights to those films have reverted to me. So I now am able to distribute them online. So I thought about going through, I found out about Film Hub. I was all excited at the very beginning. And I even went and rented a professional digital video deck, because a lot of my films that I shot in the 90s were stored and archived on a format called DV Cam. So I have all these tapes in my storage room upstairs, and my DV Cam deck broke. And this is old technology. So it's not like you can easily get a deck from somewhere. You can't even buy a new one, even if you wanted to, because they don't make them anymore. So for about 2 years, I was going back and forth whether I should buy a used deck and see if I can get a used deck that worked and transfer the content I want over. I still have more content that I need to transfer over. But I decided the best way to go was what studios do: rent equipment and use it when you need it, and then take it back to the rental house. That's something that I've learned and I've done on and off over the years. A lot of times I would buy cameras. When a new camera would come out and I wanted it, I would buy equipment. Early on in my career, I was always chasing the new equipment, thinking that that was going to be something that I needed. But then I started getting into the habit of hiring owner-operators, like a camera operator who owns the camera that I wanted to shoot with. Hello, thanks for stopping by. And so I would work with owner-operators of equipment. So if there was a cameraman and he had a camera that I like and I wanted to shoot a project with it, I would hire him to operate and use his camera. There's a number of advantages of working with an owner-operator. Most of the time, they know their equipment in and out. So even if it's a new camera, they probably had the camera or they had the previous version of the camera, so they're very familiar with it. And when I hire an owner-operator, I interview them just like I do any other crew member. But since I'm a camera guy also myself, I know the right questions to ask. So what I recommend for you guys is, if you're deciding to shoot something and it's a small budget, every dollar counts, obviously. And so if you're hiring a camera person, you want to find out a little bit about the camera. You want to find out how it works, how you would want to shoot it, so that when you talk to the camera person, you know a little bit about it. You can converse, intelligently about the camera, and to make sure that they know about the camera. If there's a certain format of the camera that you want to shoot in, you find out if they can configure the camera to shoot the way you want. And you find out their recommendations also. But I'm a big believer in hiring owner-operators of equipment, sound people, because a lot of times on the set, on a film, television, things go wrong. And if the person knows the equipment, it's much easier for them to troubleshoot on the spot, under pressure. So that's why I like to work with owner-operators of equipment. So that's just a little tip there. If you're putting a project together, if you want to hire a sound person, small sound person, a lighting person, special effects, makeup, You want to make sure these people have the equipment, the kits, the stuff they need to do the job. And that all comes in the process of interviewing them, looking at their portfolios, seeing stuff they've done in the past, talking with them about past projects, what they liked, what they didn't like, you know. So that's the kind of thing you want to know a little bit as the producer or the director of a project. You want to know a little bit about everything. You can't be an expert. Don't try to go down that road and be a micromanager of everyone. You know, you hire the crew people, you hire good people so that you can have the confidence that they know what they're doing and that they can perform the job you hired them to do. But again, you need to know a little bit about it. You don't need to know much about it. You can even talk to friends who are, you know, in the business, or friends who have shot stuff in the past. Find out what worked, get recommendations. That's another thing that's really good in the entertainment business, especially when you're working with small, tight budgets. You want to get referrals if you can. You might know somebody who shot a film and you saw how it turned out. You might ask who their cameraman was. Maybe meet with him or her. See if they are interested in shooting your project. You know, so referrals. That's another thing about this business. You'll notice that a lot of, even on the big side, on the A movie business side, a lot of the pros work with the same director. They work with the same special effects. They work with the same actors, because you build a relationship with people in this business and you know that they're not going to let you down if they've worked for you on previous projects. You get that relationship where a director might work with a certain editor his whole career, because then they know that the editor understands their vision and that the editor is someone who's flexible enough to make the changes when necessary and flexible enough to ask the right questions. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you haven't seen my channel, please go to my channel. Please go to my channel below. Look at some of my content. Subscribe if you can. I appreciate it. But again, back to my story about putting together a crew. So interviewing people, really important, really important. I worked on a project not too long ago where the producer hired a camera person. I didn't know the camera person. I didn't get a chance to interview the camera person. But luckily it all turned out well. The camera person was great, very cooperative, very talented, very flexible, and everything went smooth. Sometimes it can be a nightmare. I was a little bit worried because I have worked with camera people in the past that I didn't hire personally, that I didn't talk to, and sometimes they're argumentative, and it's just amazing. It really is. It's just amazing. I remember one time I was on a shoot with a young cameraman. I was directing, and also I was operating second camera, which ultimately turned into be first camera because of that cameraman's attitude. He didn't want to, this was in the early days of digital video, he didn't want to use light, set up lights. We were in a restaurant, we paid for a location, fabulous restaurant location. I wanted to see it. I wanted it on camera. I wanted to be able to see, we had extras. I wanted to be able to see the extras in the background. And as we were setting up, I asked him if he could set a light in the corner for me. A small crew, set maybe a light in the corner that would illuminate his view. Oh no, we don't need light. I said, oh no, can you please, we do need light. I want to be able to see into the background. No, this camera doesn't need light. So I'm relatively calm. I do fly off the handle, I have to admit, but I didn't in that situation. I asked him if he'd come talk to me, and I said, we need light. I want light in that scene. I want you to set up the light, or I don't want you to shoot. So then he set up the light and everything was fine. And I didn't have that problem with him anymore. I didn't call him out in front of the crew and the cast and the extras and all that kind of stuff. But you do run into those situations. And it's really childish. Because if you're hired to do a job, you have to realize that the director, even if you think you're more talented or you're a better filmmaker than this person who's directing the project, you were hired to work with them as their camera person, and you need to go through do what they ask you to do. So that was just one situation of, when you hire people that you don't vet, that you don't talk to, that you don't, try to let them know how you work. How do you work? How do you work on the set? How do you want your set run? One time we had an AD who young woman, very young woman, hadn't been into business long, but she had learned the wrong thing. On big movie sets, a lot of times the assistant director uh, is a jerk. And in the industry, that is the going thing, that the assistant director is supposed to be the hard person, the tough person, the drill sergeant. But I don't like that on sets when I direct. I don't like that. I always tell people we're making a movie. We're not performing open heart surgery. We're not, fighting fires. We're not fighting a war. There's no need for, the nonsense back to high school again where, someone's trying to give you BS just for no reason or trying to bully people. I do not like that. I do not go for that. And so we had to get rid of her. But, that's just how it goes sometimes. People think that if they learn something on a big set, then that's going to translate to all the sets that they're on. But it's not. You have to, that saying I love, you have to learn to read the room. You have to learn to read the room. Because if you walk into somewhere and everybody's using drugs and they're shooting up and they're smoking marijuana and they're doing fentanyl, you look around and, yeah, this is not the place for me. And you exit. So you got to learn to read the room. You got to learn to read the room. If everybody on the set is smooth, a pleasure to work with, they try to be calm and polite to each other, treat everybody with respect, treat the extras just as calm and nice as you treat the number one A talent. So that's the way I like to have a set when I direct. Now there's going to be problems. There's always problems. There's always concerns. There's always something. No matter how smooth you try to get things to go, there's always going to be some kind of problem. There's problems between the crew. There's problems between the cast. I've run into so many problems over the years, but I try to work them out. And I did a video earlier last year about a time when I didn't work it out. I tried to ignore it. There was a problem between my co-producer and one of the main lead actresses. And I tried to ignore it. I was like, they're adults. They'll let this calm down. But no, it went retro all the way through the roof. Blew the roof off. And we had to end up stopping the shoot. And we ended up not finishing the film. I mean, I had that footage. And I never really edited it all together. I think I might not even still have the footage, but I might still have the footage. But it was turning out okay. It's nothing that I could put here on YouTube. That's why sometimes I think about projects that I have unfinished. And actually, now that this just came to me, I could do a series of videos about unfinished projects. I have so many over the years. For one reason or another, things didn't get finished. You see painters or musicians who have unfinished songs or unfinished paintings. Filmmakers have unfinished films. That's just part of the business. So, but again, I'm jumping on here just to do my evening closeout and tell you about my day. I'm about to do a little bit more sound sweetening on the dialogue track for the short I'm editing. And once I get that done, I think I've already downloaded the music. I'm going to load that into the program. But I'm going to do the sound sweetening first. I still got a few more hours I'm going to work today. And once I get that sound sweetening done, I might even move on to just lay everything in place. And then tomorrow, do the final mix. So thank you for stopping by. I think I'm going to start doing it this way, coming on in the morning. Sometimes I would think I'd come on in the afternoon. But once I get caught up in work, I really don't want to break my, when I'm making progress, I usually don't want to stop. So what I'm going to usually do now is start coming on in the morning and then right before I call it a day. So I want to thank you again for stopping by. This vertical live stream is the way most of you are discovering me. So that's the way. Please go take a look at my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe. I appreciate that. So that's the way most of you are discovering me and my work. And I do appreciate it. I'm moving up. I did some polishing on my titles today. And I think it's helping. We'll see. It'll take a while for me to tell. But making my titles a little bit more interesting to the viewers. So that's what I'm trying to do. Create interesting thumbnails, which I am creating better thumbnails than I was before. I was using a lot of AI to create thumbnails. And At first I thought that looked interesting, but it wasn't getting any click through. So now I'm using thumbnails that fit my brand. I created a brand for my channel, and I'm using that brand to make my videos stand out. The ones that I'm in, the ones that I'm talking like this, that are, my main videos. This is a live stream, so this will be in the live feed, and it'll just be me on the thumbnail. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate it when I see you guys stop in and say hi. Thank you so much. Thank you so much in the comments. And if you like my work, share it with a friend. I know a lot of people have been sharing my work, and I thank you. I thank you for that. I really do. So I will see you tomorrow.